Yeah, Agresivo, dear students. Today lesson is blood vessels, page 38. Objectives, the main three kinds of blood vessels, we have to know them, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. As we spoke today in the morning, this is a very general picture of the three vessels. The blue one is the vein, the red one, because it carries oxygenated blood, is the artery, and in the middle is the capillaries. Without the capillaries, the blood cannot reach the cells and the tissues, because the blood reaches every cell or every tissues through the capillaries, because they are the finest, the smallest, and the thinnest vessel wall between the three types. So we shall discuss each type in detail. We come to the artery. The arteries is the one which is very thick, very strong walls, very elastic walls, and for a certain reason, as we see, because it has strong walls, because the heart pushes the blood, pumps the blood through it, and this happens with just like that the blood surges through the artery, and when the artery is not strong enough, it can make cuts and injuries. So it must be elastic, it must be strong for that reason. Also, it's elastic so that when we know the heart pumps in a pulse way. So when it contracts, it pushes a wave, and then it relaxes and contracts. So we need an artery which can expand and comes back again to its place. And that's why we feel the pulse in our bodies when we put our fingers on the artery. This is because of this movement of expanding and going back to its place. And as I said, it have a very thick muscles, as you see here, and the space inside is little bit compared to the vein. This blue one is the vein. This one is a vein. We see it has little. It's similar to the from shape. From shape is similar, but from construction is different. This is thicker. It have more muscles and elastic. This is less muscles, more space inside, and as we see, the vein have a valve inside also, but the artery, it doesn't have a valve inside. The reason for that is the artery, it doesn't need a valve, because the power which is pushing the blood through would not let the blood comes back, because it's driven by a power. The power is still fresh, the power of the pumping heart. So there is no way that the blood comes back, and especially when the narrow space here. You narrower the space, you're more force pushing the blood forwards. But by vein, because it's more space, okay, and the power of blood pushing is not here anymore, so there is a possibility that the blood goes back. That's why it has a valve here by the vein, because the blood here doesn't surge so strong as in the artery. It can go back, and the space is too big. That means the driving power is less than the driving power here, so it needs really a valve. So we have then this is another comparison. The vein here, the vein is the same size as the artery, as I told you, but the wall is thinner and it has a valve, and you see the space inside here is much bigger, and here the space is smaller, and that's in the middle. That is the capillary. The capillary, as you see, it is showing you this one here. It is very fine, very tiny, and it goes to all the parts, little parts. Otherwise, the blood cannot reach the cells, because these are so fine they can reach every cell in the body. Otherwise, we have no oxygen. How can we get oxygen everywhere? Because of these capillaries. And as you see here, this is the valve of the, which one? The vein, not the artery. These are the veins, not the arteries. It allows them to go this way, but not back. They should have drawn this in a blue color, not red, but anyway. So, the arteries, I said, as they are the tiny blood vessels in between, the tiny blood vessels in between. These are only diagrams that showing how the blood comes from this side to this direction. Oxygen diffuses through the walls to the blood tissues and cells, and the waste and carbon dioxide is diffuses from the body cells into the capillaries and then into the vein, going back to the heart. Which side of the heart? The right side of the heart. The right side of the heart is always the side where the deoxygenated blood is assembled, okay? And the left side of the heart is the place of the heart where the oxygenated blood is gathered there. So don't forget, right side for blood which is not without oxygen, and the left side is the blood with the oxygen. So that means the artery which takes the blood with oxygen to the body comes out from the left side of the heart, and the vein which brings back the blood without oxygen with carbon dioxide to the heart pours that blood in the right side of the heart. So this is just a review about the difference between the vein and artery. You see the walls are thick by the artery, and the space here, the lumen space, the smaller the space, the greater the pushing power. Okay, we took this I think in physics. The cross-sectional area is so small, that means the driving force is bigger. Here is, look, the lumen is so big, so the driving force is smaller. That's why we need a valve here, so that we can ensure that the blood goes not backwards. But by the artery we don't need that one. And these two tables, small tables, to show you what's the difference, and it's very important, these two differences here. These two differences are very important between the arteries and the vein. And the last thing is a comparison only between the three types of vessels in the human body. We have the artery, as you say. I don't need these names here. These names for me is not interesting. It's important the name is the artery, vein, and capillary, and the valve. That's all. These are tissues or layers of muscles. Okay, these are also layers of muscles, and this is the valve. As you see the space, the lumen here is much bigger than here, and as you see here, this is very made very big. This is so small, but we amplify it. We made it. It's made bigger so that you can see. You can see that the thickness of the wall is nothing compared to the vein or to the artery. Of course, the thickness of the wall here is one cell, not two. Only one cell. And why is that? So that when the blood comes in with oxygen, the blood can separates from the hemoglobin and can diffuses through these walls to the body tissues. And in the opposite also the same thing. The carbon dioxide and the waste can diffuses from the tissues and cells through the walls into the capillary. That's why it is so thin. Thank you very much for your attention.